Hello, I'm Philip Rice from St Giles Church in Desborough, and this morning I thought I would share a few thoughts about Easter, it being the first week of the Easter celebrations. So just a few thoughts about that first Easter Sunday, and I'm basing it on John's Gospel account, and if you want to read it, then it's in the Gospel according to St John chapter 20. Now at Easter we often talk about signs of new life. We talk about spring flowers and the green shoots and newborn lambs and of course eggs. But the real symbol of Easter is the empty tomb. Mary went to the tomb on that first Easter Sunday morning expecting to find a large stone rolled across the entrance to the tomb. And she also expected that within the tomb there was the body of Jesus, but both were missing. Inside the burial clothes that laid in the tomb was nothing. I remember once telling my kids that the most appropriate Easter gift would be nothing. They weren't impressed. Now, across the UK, round about now, the lockdown restrictions are slowly and tentatively beginning to lift. And it's a bit like those early signs of new life, isn't it? But it's also a bit worrying. We're not sure whether to be excited or what. Reports of a third wave of COVID-19 across mainland Europe give us cause for real concern and worry that the situation there could slow down our return to normality. So the lockdown relaxation is accompanied by a whole range of emotions, and actually that's just how it was on that first Easter day. Mary comes to the tomb in the early hours of the first day of the week. Her grief is strong enough to draw her to the place where she can be as close as possible to the body of Jesus. And she's shocked by what she finds. An obviously disturbed tomb, the body missing, presumed stolen. Just imagine if you'd attended the funeral of someone you loved in the days when that was possible. You stood at the graveside and watched as the coffin was lowered into the ground. Then you left the cemetery with the other mourners, but you return the following day expecting to see that the grave has been filled in and tidied up. Perhaps the flowers and the wreaths will have been laid over and around the grave. But instead, if the grave had been filled in, it's been dug up again. The coffin and the body have gone. So how would you feel? Shock, horror, anger perhaps? So we begin to imagine something of what Mary must have felt on that first Easter Sunday morning. Mary had lost the companionship of her beloved rabbi, and now his body, this double loss, is made visible in her inconsolable weeping. But unlike the two men who came to see what she was talking about, Mary stays by the tomb long enough to experience something very, very special, something she certainly didn't expect. You'll recall that in chapter 10 of his Gospel, John described how the sheep recognise the voice of the Good Shepherd. So Mary only recognises the figure she meets in the garden when he calls her by name, like the calling to one of his flock. It's Jesus. He's within touching distance, but he resists. Do not hold on to me, he says, and this perhaps suggests a new kind of relationship, something more going forward perhaps than mere human interaction, something that we know aligns with Jesus' own relationship with the God that he calls Father. The coming of the Spirit to friends who live by the new commandment to love one another. Something that makes the love of Jesus visible, tangible even. Whilst we start celebrating as early as possible on Easter morning. For those first disciples of Jesus, it was a day that started with mourning and sadness. That then turned to confusion, and eventually in the evening to joy and celebration when Jesus, the risen Jesus, stood among them. So Easter Day should be a true celebration of transformation, from sadness and worry to joy, from darkness to light. Mary and the disciples saw the empty tomb and at first were afraid, but then came to realise what had happened. Jesus' body hadn't been taken, Jesus had been raised from the dead. What a truly amazing story. First and foremost, the Easter story is amazing as one of the most important messages of the Christian faith. Jesus lives. Life and love are stronger than the powers of death and evil. What a powerful message. But it's also a source of encouragement for anyone facing change and for us in these times of uncertainty. Because even in the darkest times, even when we don't know what to do for the best, even when we don't know whether to laugh or cry, amidst all our worry and concern, Jesus, who lives, comes alongside us. Amen.